time for some Monday motivation, and today we have Dr. Charles Otudor joining us to discuss brand positivism part 2. You remember we began this last week. Dr. Charles Otudor is Africa's premier brand strategist, and today, talking about brand positivism, it's so good to have you in the studio with us.
Pleasure's mine. Pleasure's mine.
Okay, so when we talk about brand positivism, I know quite well that you began the groundwork last week.
Yeah.
Now, continuing this week, where are we taking it to?
To a more practical aspect.
Okay.
To stay positive, you need to have certain elements, and it's all about problem solving. So, like I said last week, we all go through negatives.
True.
It's how we define those issues. In fact, out of negatives, you get the positives. Yeah. A lot of people create wealth from issues. True. You can even create wealth from condemned materials now. It's how you convert the situation. So today I want to mention just 5 steps, which will close up the part 2. Okay. The first one is defining. You have to define. Okay, so there's an issue that has occurred. Do you define it? We must learn to define those issues based on why did they happen and what is the contextual, the relationship between that issue and at the endpoint. Okay. So, 1, define. Secondly, we need to measure. When you define, measure what really happened.
So you define the
and then you measure. Now, this
not
all
gravity.
You measure. If you don't measure, how can you create the answers to ensure it doesn't happen again? So most of the time, people stay negative because they did not measure. They just assume somebody do me.
Village people.
I mean, nobody's doing anybody. Your attitude determines the outcome of the processes. Absolutely. So let's define, then we measure. After we measure, we need to now analyze. When you analyze, you are going through all the details. What went wrong? Okay, how did I react? Okay, based on my reaction to this situation, what was the other third-party reaction? Negatives don't just occur on their own. It involves 2 parties. Something happens, and then we react. Yeah. So the 4th point is when you analyze, you now improve. After you define, you measure, you analyze.
You analyze, then you improve.
Or else you can't improve. How can you improve on a situation you don't understand?
Yeah, that's the analytic angle of it.
So you analyze it. Okay, this went wrong, this went wrong, but this could have gone right if I had done this. And then finally...
So there you take the lessons.
You now take the lessons and now go to control. At the point of control is where you go back all the way to the beginning, where you defined. You can't control what you've not defined. You can only control what you have defined. So, based on these principles, you can now create a new curve that gives you a different perspective, and you create what I call the brand positivism. And that's the end point where you now realize, okay, I did this wrong, I did it right, okay, I've analyzed it, now I want to control the outcome next time. So that it doesn't occur again, or else the same problems you encounter will keep on occurring because you're still using the same strategy.
And this is a proven, test-trusted strategy to ensure that at least you put out brand positivism.
Yes.
But in some cases, people skip steps. Some people will start with the definition.
Okay.
And from there, without much ado, they head straight to
solving.
That's the improvement.
Now, let me ask you a question. How can a failed strategy solve a problem that exists?
How can a failed strategy solve a problem that exists?
Okay, let me ask you in a different format.
Okay.
When clients come to us, we put in place what we call the brand health check.
Okay.
Now, the brand health check helps us to ascertain the health state of that client.
Okay.
Now,
when you say health state, mental health?
No, brand health check.
Brand health, okay.
So it's a questionnaire that helps us to analyze the state of a client's brand.
Okay.
Simple questions. We don't prefer solutions before we understand who you are and what you really need to put in place. For some people, they go straight to the problem solving without analyzing the problem. Why would a client come to me? The client needs help. Now, if I don't put in place tests, how can I be able to put in place strategies? It's like going to a hospital and the doctor looks at you and tells you you have fever.
Yeah, without
You have
tests.
malaria. That is a quack. So in analyzing, you analyze the situation, you go through the processes, and then before you now prefer solutions.
So to answer your question,
Yes.
a failed strategy can be used to get a better one simply by getting the lessons from the failed one to ensure that
You've
it
nailed
doesn't
it on the
repeat
head.
itself.
A very good student. Awesome. You got it right.
All right. So in a situation where
Okay.
the strategy is working well, we know that sometimes things could go awry.
Yes.
Now, in such situations, what are the possible things that could go awry?
Now, let me take it from the personal brand, first of all. You can't control outcomes, but you can control your reaction. So what could go wrong? Weather, climate, government policies.
Sure.
The economic terrain can change.
Yeah.
But what can we do? We restructure our thinking by understanding the situation so that we can now readjust our strategy to suit the realities. Now, strategies are not long-term. They must be short, mid, and long-term. That way, you pause and you analyze at every
How far
point.
you've gone.
After you've
What
phase
could be
one,
better?
look back and review where have I gone right and what is the reaction to my last actions. Because you see, when you put in place actions, there's always a second reaction from a third party. So you pause and you review. Oh, this has gone right. Based on what has occurred from the third party, you can proceed with phase two. It's the same thing with the mindset. If you have a mindset of pause, play, rewind, fast forward, and stop or eject.
Yeah, so that way, even when there are errors made and all, it's easy to put them in check.
Into
quickly.
context.
Yes, before things get really out of hand. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for
Pleasure's
your time,
mine.
Dr. Charles Otudor.
Thank you. Pleasure's
Thank you
mine.
indeed. At this point, as we feed our mind, it's time to feed our bodies.